I'm Jonathan Ballou, and I'm the training director for the ski and snowboard schools of Aspen Snowmass. My job demands that I ski hard every day. To keep my joints healthy, I take Arthrolyze Elite. Species Nutrition. Join the evolution.
IFBB4 Kim Williams, what species are you?
Welcome inside the RX Muscle Studios in Westbury for another episode of Ask Dave, better known as #AskDave. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. Glad you can join us on this Tuesday afternoon. Many of you chimed in saying, isn't this show supposed to be on Wednesday? And to those of you who said that or asked that, I say, good for you, paying attention. We had some scheduling conflicts for tomorrow, so we had to move the show back Tuesday today. And then on Thursday night, actually, we're going to have our post-Arnold special. We're going to have a wrap-up. We have Juliana Malikarni, the women's physique champion, confirmed to be live in studio right here for the duration of the show. We have Jose Raymond, the Boston Mass, the 212 division champion from the Arnold Sports Festival. Kamala Rodriguez is confirmed as well, and working some other guests as well. And the next week, whoever we don't get this show, we're going to be having them on next week's episode of Heavy Muscle TV. And with that, we bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, a lot of excitement over the last couple of weeks between Ohio and Australia. What did you make of the last 2 weekends?
Well, first of all, I have to say happy St. Patrick's Day
Yes,
to all our Irish
absolutely.
friends out there. We're surrounded in green here, so that's good. We have good coloring on the set here, and I'm sure by now a lot of our Irish friends might be, knocking down a few beers here or there. We know how that goes. So we want to keep you guys on your toes. If you guys want to drunk dial us and ask a couple drunk questions, we're open for that too. But, I wanted to just say this weekend, these past 2 weekends have become like the power weekend of the year because you got the Arnold USA, then Arnold Australia week to week. It knocks your socks off. This year I didn't even get to go because it was just too close together. I had too many things going on. I had been there the last 2 years, which were real fun, and I hope to get back there. Chris Aceto was there covering for rxmuscle.com, and that was great. We had some great pictures from our photographer, Darren Burns. And I just want to say, thank you to our staff out there in Australia for doing a great job covering the show. And, of course, Dexter Jackson repeats 2 weeks in a row, and at 46 years old, I think he is now, he's probably the most dominant bodybuilder out there aside from Phil Heath.
So, Dave, let's start on that real quick. You said it after the Arnold Sports Festival, his win there, retorting that when Dexter wins, nobody complains. When Dexter wins, everything seems to be okay. Why is that?
Well, because, Dexter is an established Mr. Olympia. He already won the Arnold 4 times. He's a very well-balanced bodybuilder. He's always in great shape. And so you don't really have a problem when Dexter wins. Maybe people think someone else should have won, but when everyone else comes a little bit off, which is really what happened at this year's Arnold and Arnold Australia, Dexter sneaks in there and wins. I've said it time and time again. You can't leave the door open because he will slam it shut every single time, and he did it again. 2 wins in 2 weeks. He might be the winningest bodybuilder of all time at this point. I got to check the stats, but that 5-time Arnold USA championship is a record that may never be broken.
The man they call the Blade, no plans of slowing down anytime soon. You know the name of the game. If you want to get your questions in, you can use the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com. If you're not already a member, it is free to register. Or you can use our Twitter platform using the hashtag AskDave, our official Instagram, Facebook page, and then also for our live stream viewers, you can use the live stream chat box. Dave, we're going to start with the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com. This question from Bill Bingham. Bill clearly got the memo. Dave, please stop broadcasting your show. It is a violation of the Geneva Convention for Cruel and Unusual Punishment. In your experience, what dosage of GH causes more problems than benefits? And does your suggested dosage of GH vary depending on whether it is American or Chinese?
Well, whenever we figure out what a dosage or a proper dosage is, we have to assume that what you're taking is real. Is Chinese growth hormone as good as pharmaceutical American growth hormone? I don't know. I've never tested them both. So, assuming it's real, then that's the dosage we have to kind of base what are making our recommendations on. I feel a dosage as low as 2 IUs per day is effective. I feel that a 4 IU dosage per day is probably a good amount for most competitors to take. I do know people that take a lot more. I think once you go over 5 and 6 IUs per day, you're kind of getting unproductive and you're starting to get side effects like a lot of fluid retention, joint pain, sometimes pins and needles in the extremities, and just uncomfortableness. And I don't think you're really getting more benefits at that point, especially given the price that people are paying for the stuff. So I think 2 to 4 with 5 and 6 maybe for the super advanced guys per day is probably, the right amount.
A good contest question from Strained and Gained. Dave, do you ever see a non-English speaking or English as a second language Mr. Olympia in the future, considering the increasing push towards the mainstream market over the last few years?
I could see maybe Big Ramy winning the Olympia in the future. I think that by the time any guy wins the Olympia who is not English speaking, he will have learned to speak English because obviously a lot of the money is in the English speaking world. So will we get a foreign Mr. Olympia? That's the question I think that's on the mind. I think that the best bodybuilders are coming out of the Middle East and Europe now. I think a lot of new rising stars. Obviously the U.S. always has some great competitors as well. Who knows who might be the next breakout stars? But I think that we're seeing more talent coming out of the other countries as opposed to the U.S. now, because a lot of guys in the U.S. are going into men's physique. So it'll be interesting to see in 5 years, because we won't see this for 5 years. In 5 years, we'll start to see what the ramifications are of the men's physique division and its implications on how that might translate to future bodybuilding potential.
Another contest-related question, this one from Guru Hansa. Dave, what in judging would you change? And, of course, this was a topic of conversation, of course, with Arnold's comments after the Arnold Sports Festival. What do you make, or rather, what would your changes be as far as what you see in judging lately?
You got to judge what's up there. I'm not a judge, and I don't really want to ever be a judge, but I will give my critique as a part of the press corps. Did I like Cedric McMillan maybe better than, Branch Warren at the Arnold Classic? Yeah, I probably would have had him above Branch Warren. Could you make a case from beating Dexter Jackson? Yeah, probably. But, like we said earlier, everyone was kind of had some flaws at this Arnold. So while I like Cedric's aesthetics, I might not go with someone else. I might not say, hey, that guy's aesthetics is better than this guy, and that's why he should beat him. So it's really what's up there. You got to judge what's in front of you. I liked Justin Compton. I thought he kind of left the door open a little at the Arnold. His abs were a little washed out. But I think potential-wise going forward, he definitely has it all because he has the size, conditioning, and he has the shape. So I think that, if guys have an ugly shape, but they have a lot of mass and conditioning, it's great for the fans to see, and it's exciting, but I don't think that they necessarily should be winning shows. But once again, you got to go back to what's up there. The judges have got to judge what's up there. Every once in a while, they make a mistake here and there. But by and far, the last couple of years, last 5 years, since I think Steve Weinberg has really taken over as the head judge at a lot of these shows, we've seen a fair amount of really good decisions.
Dave, we say hello to our Twitter audience with Armin Malian at Built to Last. Dave, do you need to be at 0 carbs to be in keto or just do low carbs?
Everyone's different. The lower, obviously, the carbs you go, the better chance you'll be in ketosis. Remember, what is ketosis? Ketosis is the brain switching its metabolism from using glucose or carbohydrates as a fuel source to burning fats or ketones as a fuel source. Why would the brain do that? Well, the brain has to say, you know what? There's such a lack of glucose present that the brain can't subsist on this. And usually that occurs after 72 hours of carb restriction. Everyone's body is a little different. So what I recommend that people do is definitely go super low carb for the first 72 hours. Get your brain certifiably in ketosis. Then you can play with the amounts, after that. Obviously, the less carbs you eat, the better your brain's going to feel. Because you can still lose weight if you're not in a strong ketosis, but you might be hungry. See, the advantage of being in ketosis where your brain is using fat as a fuel source is that you're not craving carbohydrates. And most people fail on their diet because they crave foods. They crave calories, they crave carbs, and then they wind up cheating. So especially for women, if you can take away the cravings from them, most times they'll have great success on their diet plans.
Dave, let's go to our live stream chat box. Again, you're watching Ask Dave, Species, sponsored by Species Nutrition. You can go to Species Nutrition. I'm losing it right now. 4 hours of sleep. SpeciesNutrition.com. Try our new cookies and cream flavored Isolized and Protolized. We were sampling the Protolized last weekend at the Arnold Sports Festival. We go to our live stream chat box on livestream.com. This one from Mo. Dave, is 12 grams of protein enough to stop the catabolic state and keep the amino puddle working?
Well, I'm assuming he's talking about post-workout. I don't. He really didn't specify, when this 12 grams of protein is being consumed. According to Scott Conley, who's probably one of the foremost authorities on protein metabolism and the original inventor of Met-Rx and kind of my mentor of sorts, he says that an ideal amount of protein post-workout is about 30 grams. So if you consume a 30-gram dose of protein right after, and usually from a whey isolate is obviously the most absorbable, most quickly and rapidly absorbed. You do that post-workout, you get the protein machinery working, and it basically flips the switch on and says, all right, start repairing muscle tissue. Now you have to follow that up with further nutrients, obviously, to fuel the process, but 30 grams seems to be the ideal dosage post-workout to initiate the protein machinery.
Let's go back to our Twitter page. Again, if you have any questions you want to ask on Twitter, use the hashtag AskDave. This one, and Dave, you're going to like this, an 80s reference, at Peter Venkman. That is his name, Peter Venkmann. So good job by you, sir. Dave, I'm going to take finasteride. I was wondering if it will affect my ability to put on muscle, or does it have any side effects?
Well, finasteride is a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. What it does is it inhibits the conversion of testosterone into DHT, or dihydrotestosterone. If you were 13, I'd say it's a bad idea to take that because DHT is responsible for the development of secondary male characteristics, thickening of the jaw, deepening of the voice, growth of the penis, and all that stuff. As we get older, however, really DHT kind of becomes a nuisance more than anything because too much DHT will cause hair loss, it will cause enlargement of the prostate, causes acne breakouts. So when we're older, cutting back the amount of DHT is actually a good idea in your body. It's preservative in a sense. I started taking it for hair loss. It kind of curtailed my hair loss, but even better, it protected my prostate, and I think that's. And I noticed I broke out a lot less because I was very prone to acne, especially when I was training, as a bodybuilder many years ago. And so, will it kill sex drive? Some people report that the first week or two, but usually that goes away, that effect, and it will certainly not hamper muscle gains because remember, muscle is built from testosterone. DHT is not a muscle-building hormone. It's important in other aspects of male sexual development. It's the testosterone that builds and repairs the muscle.
Dave, let's go to our Instagram page, and it's official_RX Muscle at Instagram. This one from Adam James Cooper. Hey, Dave, I enjoy the show, so clearly he didn't get the memo. Question, what's your thoughts on rep speed and range of motion? Dorian was always full range of motion, and I think that's why he didn't need so many sets and angles. Also, a lot of pros are explosive with momentum. Do you think no momentum with slower reps are better for growth? I struggle with legs and can't seem to find the right balance of weight, speed of reps, and total reps.
I was of the opinion of Dorian Yates. I always adhered to his beliefs, not because he did it, but because I believed in it and I felt it. And then when he endorsed it, obviously, and I tried it, I felt that what he was saying was true. Where he said was less reps, less sets, more intensity. But with the more intensity, you have to ensure that you do full range movements and you put out maximum effort. Now, here's what I always felt. I felt that when I would go into the gym and I'd have to do 4 sets of chest and 4 sets of this and 4 sets of that, the first couple sets I was just kind of going through the motions, trying to wait to get to the heavy set. When I cut back my sets and I did less sets, I focused more on those sets and I got way more out of it. When I knew I only had to do 2 sets, for incline, bench, whatever, or 2 sets for dumbbell presses, I put more into those sets. And if anyone had ever seen me watch me train, I was a very slow, deliberate trainer. I moved the weight very, especially on the negative. I really controlled the negative. I exploded through the positive. but I always did full range of motion. I believe that full range of motion develops full range muscles or full size muscles. Partial range of motion develops partial muscles, and you see gaps in people's physique when they do partial reps. Now, that's not to say that if you go watch Branch Warren do incline bench press, where he's powering the weight up and it looks like he's doing these partial reps and he's hardly doing anything except sweating, he's feeling that. He's another creature. Don't use him as an example. I always tell people, don't look at some of the pros and who are genetic freaks and say, I'm going to train like them, because you know what? You're going to wind up getting hurt, or you're not going to get the development you're seeking. You don't go to a guy like Flex Wheeler who had great arms and ask him what he does for his arms, because he could lift soup cans up and he's going to develop his arms. So I always say full range motion, heavy weights, less sets, more rest.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Go to speciesnutrition.com. If you want to ask questions, join us on the Muscle Central Forum on RxMuscle.com. It is free to register, or ask your questions on our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter pages, or if you're watching on live stream, on the live stream chat box. Dave, we go back to the RX Muscle Central Forum. This question from Farouk Kamal, no relation. Dave, as a competitor, what are some of the tricks and tips not to retain water while flying for a competition? And obviously this is a good question, just given the fact that the competitors went to Australia. I have heard drink a lot of water while flying, wearing tight compression, sauna belt, or nowadays squeeze belt. In your opinion, what would be considered a long flight, anything over 3 hours flying time, when the body starts retaining water? And would Aqualize help me in this situation? If so, what would be the best way to incorporate it?
It's interesting because people respond differently to flights. When I fly under 5 hours, about to the 5 or 6 hour mark, I get dehydrated on the plane, believe it or not. When I'm up there longer, I tend to retain a little bit of fluid. When I was a really, big bodybuilder, over 300 pounds, I retained way more fluid. I think that the bigger you are, the more you retain, and it makes it a little harder. The problem is you really don't want to dehydrate yourself on the plane, because it is easy to dehydrate. Most people, if you notice when you get off the plane, your mouth is parched and dry. You do get dehydrated. The problem is the water, okay, it's not that you're holding excessive amounts of water, it's that the water is leaving the muscles and going under the skin, subcutaneous. So it's being reapportioned to the wrong compartment. The problem with that is it's very hard to get the water back into the right compartment in a short period of time. So if you're going to fly overseas, if you're flying 20 hours from Australia to compete, you're probably better off going several days before to let your body get acclimated. If you don't have that, advantage, because maybe you've competed the week before and you just don't have then you could be screwed. That's why a lot of these competitors were retaining some fluid noticeably. The guys that got over there the earliest seemed to look the best. Dexter almost didn't make it for the show, and he had some water issues for certain in Australia compared to what he looked like at the Arnold. I always felt that, wearing compression stockings definitely helped the ankles and the feet and the lower legs a lot. And those you can get in any like CVS pharmacy. I don't know about I don't know if I would wear a compression belt or waist shaper band, because at that point, you're on a long flight. You got to relax. You can't relax and sleep well when you have one of those things on. So the compression stockings are probably good. I don't drink a lot of water at all on the plane, to be honest with you, because I don't want to get up and have to pee a million times. I would say drink moderately. Whenever you do anything in excess, it's probably not a good idea.
Dave, this question from our live stream chat box from Justin Baccio. Dave, will you ever hold a Bros versus Pros in California? I live in sunny San Diego, and he made sure to point out sunny, knowing that we're in New York, and would love to throw my hat in the ring for the deadlift for reps.
We might do it. We almost did one with Pete Ciccone out there at 619 Muscle, and we kind of canceled at the last minute because we had too much planned. I wouldn't mind getting out there, and we should talk to him. I'd love to see Derek Farnsworth, throw his hat into the ring there as our IFBB pro. It might be able to be arranged. We got to find, if we find a good sponsor to do it, I'd love to go out there in California. I'd love to go out there when the weather's freezing here too, but I would go out there anytime, because San Diego is one of my favorite places to visit. I might even one day live there. You never know, because the weather is ideal. It's always 65.
Let's go back to the Muscle Central Forum on RxMuscle.com. This question from a good friend of the show, Little Mama. Dave, do you think there is such thing as metabolic damage? I ask because in the last couple of years, We have read about it on Facebook and some other forums as well as blogs where numerous ladies have come out and said they have metabolic damage due to restrictive diets, too much cardio, extended dieting from doing too many shows, and the list goes on and on and on. Most will lay blame on the coach who should have guided them better in their preps. What do you think?
I think that it's an overused term in our industry. I think people who gain a lot of weight after shows, usually it's because they eat like pigs. I've seen it, and unfortunately it happens a lot with women. They're so restrictive, to get in shape, and then they just go crazy. And, men's metabolism is a little more forgiving. If they go crazy after a show, they tend to burn up a lot of the calories. But I do think that, you got to remember, when you overtrain, all overtraining really means is that the muscles never run out of energy or steam. What happens is the nervous system is exhausted. The neurotransmitters that are produced in our body that enable the nerves to communicate with the nerves to communicate with the muscle cells, they run out because we exhaust them. Okay, something that makes them work out or wear out even faster is taking a lot of stimulants. Stimulants overtax the nervous system and wear them out even more. So now if you combine this with undersleeping, overtraining, overexertion, stress from the diet, and of course you create a situation where you're in a state of severe overtraining. You feel lethargic, you have high resting morning pulses, you even get signs of depression, because remember, the neurotransmitters enable the brain cells to communicate. When they're low, you will feel depressed. That's usually what people are calling metabolic damage. It's really just a sign of overexhaustion of the nervous system, and it has nothing to do with the adrenal glands. It has a lot to do with the fact that you just need some rest. And what I recommend people do is cut back your training a little bit. Keep your nutrition good. Don't use that as an excuse to eat whatever you want. Because a lot of people, when they feel fatigued, they think they're not eating enough. So they just use it as an excuse to eat unlimited. And that's just going to make you fatter. Okay? So when you feel like that, rest is the best method. Stay out of the gym for a week or two. Let your body recover its neurotransmitters. Try to get more sleep. Those are the two most important things post-contest.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. We go back to the RxMuscle.com Muscle Central Forum. This one from Black Taboo. Dave, I hate your show. I hate your show. I hate your show. Did I mention how much I hate this show? Well done. This is a two-part question. There's been a lot of characters who have been a part of RX Muscle over the years. What happened to Billy Guns, and do you and John Romano still stay in contact? What is the status of that relationship? Second part, of all the interviews you've done over the years, which one was the best and why?
That's a good question. First of all, John Romano and I actually just ran into each other at the NPC Nationals where his wife turned pro in physique. So we hung out there a little bit. And, we talk from time to time. We email occasionally back and forth. One of these days, I'm going to get him on Iron Debate because I think he'd be a great debater. We're still good. We have that kind of friendship that, we don't have to see each other for 5 years, and then we could see each other, and it was like we never stopped seeing each other. So you got to remember, he lived in one of my houses for a year or so. So we have a tight relationship in that sense. Billy Guns disappeared on his own. He lost his mind. He hates me now for some reason. He's like an anti-RX Muscle. He had a little mental break with reality, I think. So I don't know. He holds me responsible for his life, becoming shit, I guess. So I don't know what happened to him. I don't really talk to him anymore. He won't talk to me. And, just another whack packer gone wacko. So that's what I say. But the third, what was the third question?
The best interview you've done.
Oh, the best interview I did. There's so many good ones. I loved interviewing Maria Shriver, Arnold's former wife, although I wouldn't say that's the best interview I ever did. I did a great interview with Jason Statham that was lost by someone we don't know who in the company actually screwed the interview up. It never actually got, put up there. I thought that was one of my better ones. Probably the two interviews most people remember are Jason Huh after he won the USA Championships. I got him to cry on camera, and it was a very emotional moment. And that video's gotten millions of hits. And the other one is when I interviewed Kai Green when I went to his house when he was living in the projects, and we did a day in a life of when I was with Muscular Development. I think that was more people come up to me at shows and tell me about that interview and that thing we did with him than any other interview I can remember. So those two are probably the most memorable.
Dave, let's go to our Instagram page. This question from AlphaJR_. Hey, Dave, huge fan. Keep up the great work on RX Muscle. Is GH and insulin crucial to making impressive improvements to one's physique?
Look, eating right and training right are crucial to making improvements to one's physique, okay? Growth hormone, insulin, anabolic steroids are probably, icing on the cake. when we talk about performance enhancing, substances, probably anabolic steroids are the most potent. Then you get to your growth hormone and insulin. And not everyone needs insulin, and not everyone needs growth hormone. So there's been a lot of bodybuilders that have been very successful in men's physique competitors that have used no growth hormone and insulin. So is it necessary? No. Will it enhance what you're doing if you're eating right and training right? Absolutely.
Let's go back to the live stream chat box. This one from Jason Stadler. Dave, this show sucks worse than the ED I get from DECA. My question regards pre-contest diuretics. Is Diazide the best? Did you advocate starting with half tab every 8 hours starting Thursday before a show?
I like Diazide, and I'll tell you why. Whenever you take a diuretic, which is basically just a substance that eliminates excess water and salt from the body, or theoretically, it just eliminates water. What you want to assess is when you're eliminating water, you're going to lose electrolytes. Okay, which electrolytes you lose? Now, electrolytes being sodium, potassium, chloride, magnesium, calcium. The less electrolytes that you lose, the easier it is to know what's going on. And let me explain something. If you take too much Diazide, okay, and you start to cramp, okay, the only thing that you're missing in your body is sodium, okay, because Diazide does not cause potassium loss. So if you start cramping while taking Diazide, you can add in some salt into your diet and you will neutralize that cramping. If you take a stronger diuretic, okay, like say Lasix or Demodex that causes potassium and sodium loss, if you start cramping, you don't know what you should take, whether you should take sodium or potassium, because you're not sure which electrolyte is the one that's depleted. Now, to play it safe, you always could take in some sodium. That usually helps. But if you take potassium and you're not potassium depleted, you will cramp worse. So I don't like to use any other diuretic other than Diazide. Now, aldactone is another diuretic, which is potassium sparing. The problem with aldactone is it inhibits the hormone aldosterone in the body. Aldosterone is the hormone that our body utilizes to absorb sodium. If you start cramping while taking aldactone and you take in salt, you will not absorb it. Why? Because the aldactone will be neutralized in your body. That's the hormone that enables you to absorb it. So that's not a good diuretic to take. How often do you take Diazide? That depends on how much water you're holding and how much you potentially will hold. So there's a lot of experimentation in there. Usually for men can get away with a half a Diazide, a 37-25 tab, half of one of those. Usually starting around 12 to 18 hours before the competition, going every, like you said, 8 to 10 hours. And most men get away with 3 halves. Some may need 4. Most get away with 3. Most women can get away with 2 halves. Once again, it's very variable on, how the person, reacts to the stuff. Some people react super fast to it and they need less. Some people are more water retentive by nature. They may need a little more. So there's no cookie cutter approach to this.
We'll stay with the live stream chat box audience. This question from Brandon Evans. Dave, I'm due to stop my cut on keto in 5 weeks. What is the best method to go into a lean bulk, such as should I just add full carbs right away or gradually?
A lot of people ask me this question when they get off a ketogenic diet like mine, which is high protein, moderate fat, and they want to start then going into an off-season scenario where they're going to maintain weight or even try to add some weight. They ask me, what do they do? And I usually gradually progress people. What I tell them to do is stay on the protein fat diet, but add 35 grams of clean carbs to each meal. Okay? That'll bring you up to about 210 grams of carbs per day, a little bit, almost 250, with the other, insignificant carbs in your plan. That should be enough to keep you full without keeping you getting fat. You might need more than that, but I say for at least 2 to 3 weeks, do that. And what carbs should you use? I like clean carbs like brown rice, quinoa, potatoes, sweet potatoes, even oats are fine. Amanda, my wife, got me into eating this brown rice pasta, which is really good. I think that clean carbs are the way to go until your body regulates itself. And you know what? You will not feel normal after a competition or after a contest diet for at least 2 to 4 weeks. Usually it takes a month. So don't be surprised if your body's just not quite working right.
Dave, let's go back to the Muscle Central Forum, rxmuscle.com. If you're not already a member, it is free to register. This question from another good friend of the show, Fabian. Dave, do you believe creatine monohydrate needs to be taken combined with a sugar or fast carb source like a waxy maize for maximum absorption, training days or non-training days?
If you're doing creatine, I would do it every day, because even the days you're not training, you're still using some creatine in the muscle cell, and you don't want to lose. You don't want the topped off levels to go down. So think about it. Off day you don't do creatine, then the next day you work out and you have lower creatine levels than you want. So I would do it every day, 5 grams. You could do it post workout. You could do it first thing in the morning. I used to throw it in a shake, to make it easy to drink. Sometimes I would mix it with grapefruit juice. For ease of use, if you're doing a waxy maize, a high molecular weight carbohydrate with a whey isolate post-workout, just throw it in there. That should be fine. Just make sure you take enough fluid with it, because a lot of people mix their shakes in a very small amount of liquid, and creatine needs water to be absorbed, or it's going to be real hard on your kidneys.
Got a couple of more questions. This one from the live stream chat box from Zaki. Dave, is 2015. Are there really no better PCT compounds than SERMs?
PCT meaning post-cycle therapy, and SARMs he's asking about?
Yeah.
Selective androgen receptor modulators. Post-cycle, when a person comes off an anabolic steroid cycle, you want to clean the receptors out. You want to give the body a chance to detoxify itself from these compounds. It's a time to clean the body out and let the body just, have nothing in it, okay? Because when the body has nothing, all your receptors become very receptive. Your body's ability to detoxify itself becomes good. To start throwing other compounds in there, like SARMs or other drug-like compounds, which is going to keep your liver stressed and your kidney working harder, you're really not giving your body a chance to clean out, so to speak. So when you're off and you're cleaning out, clean out. Just relax. Go to the gym a couple times a week, train, eat right, but eat healthy. Just let your body just be. You know what I mean? You will get so many better gains after that type of a clean out than if you're just looking to switch one compound for another. I promise you, just do it. You're not going to lose a ton of muscle in 6 or 8 weeks. It's not going to happen.
Dave, let's go to our final question. This one from our Instagram page. Again, our Instagram handle is official_RxMuscle. This question from Dova Keto. Dave, what is your diet now post-competition years?
I hardly eat anymore. That's not true. What I did was I cut back my food intake a lot, because here's the problem. I don't want to be bigger. And if I eat 5 or 6 times a day now, I will get to 250. My body just has so much innate muscle. If I train and I eat a lot, I will grow. Even though I'm not even on hormone replacement right now, because I'm trying to get my wife pregnant. But when I'm on hormone replacement, I will grow to 250. I know it. I've seen it happen. I've gone up to 235 real easily, and I just don't like the heavy weight. My blood pressure is a little high. I'm 47 years old. I don't need to be 250 pounds anymore. 220, 215, what I am right now is perfect. So for me, I have to keep my food intake down. Luckily, all I do is work, and I'm busy all day, so I don't really have time to eat that much. So usually I try not to eat anything till about 11, 12 noon, believe it or not. I get up at probably 9, and then I do a lot of different little running around. And I almost do like an intermittent fasting. I try not to eat anything from 12 midnight to 12 noon. 12 noon, I usually have my Taco Joe's lunch, which I have, it's chicken, some rice and beans, a salad, big salad on there, a lot of fresh vegetables and stuff like that. And, and I get a nice amount of protein and carbs from that, and some good fats. I put some macadamia nut oil on my salad. Then what I usually do is, as terrible as this may sound, is a lot of times I won't eat until after the gym, at 8 o'clock at night, and I'll eat dinner. And I'll have salmon, usually brown rice, another big salad. I'll eat avocados in there. I try to eat real healthy. So some days I have 2 meals with maybe I eat snacks during the day. Like I'll have dried fruit, I'll have nuts, almonds and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll have like a protolyzed pudding or an isolized shake in the middle of the day. So I probably get 3 feedings in a day, 1 being a shake, 2 meals. When I travel, I eat a lot more because I'm bored, because I'm not working as much a lot of times. So I usually eat about 3, sometimes 4 times a day. But once again, I try to keep my protein probably around 150 grams. I don't go over that. Usually, sometimes I keep it down to 120 grams, because if I go too much higher, I know it sounds weird, I definitely do put muscle on.
Dave, we do actually have one more question. Our producer, Johnny Stiles, sneaking this one in from the live stream chat box. This one from Brandon Evans. Dave, great responses all show long. For someone looking to compete in their first show, what are the main aspects of a physique expected? Also, does age affect what's expected?
One more time, Sid. Just give me that.
Sure.
question.
So he wants to know, for someone looking to compete in their first show,
Right.
what are the main aspects of a physique that are expected? And then also, does age affect what's expected?
Well, I think the judges, once again, getting back to what I said, judge what's up there. So, I mean, you could be 17 years old. If you have a phenomenal physique like Cody Montgomery, you're going to do great. If you don't, you're going to be judged accordingly. If you're in a teen division, obviously the expectations will be lower. But if you have a great teen competitor there, you're going to lose to them. So, I mean, what are the expectations when you get on stage? Be your best. The only expectations is that you can come in on that stage with the best conditioning, the best color, and the best presentation you have, because that's the only variables that you have control over. What you got is what you got. After the show's over, you can go back to the drawing board and say, hey, I need more delt, or I need more leg, or I need more back. But the variables that you have control over are conditioning, coloration, and presentation. So make sure those are 100%.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. Special thanks to our producer, Johnny Styles, doing an excellent job. As always, a reminder, Thursday night, we're going to be having our post-Arnold special edition of Heavy Muscle TV. Confirmed for the show are Juliana Melicarni, Camila Rodriguez, Jose Raymond. We're also working on Sadiq Hadzovic, Janet Lyug, and Jeremy Buendia, the 2014 Mr. Olympia Physique Champion. Thursday night, keep it locked to RX Muscle for the exact time. I'm Sadiq Faruqi. Have a good day.